Collage has a very special place in my heart, as my personal art journey started from there. The little bits of acknowledgement and achievements that I've had as a self-taught artist are also closely tied with this medium. Yet I noticed that in the art community, at least here on YouTube, collage often gets underrated. Mainly presented as just scrapbooking or vintage magazine surrealism kind of thing. But collage can be so much more in one's personal art practice, especially on low energy days when drawing and painting seem too much of an effort. So today I'm taking you through a little sketchbook adventure that I've set myself on last month to explore collaging from life and finding new ways of experimenting with this medium, and also trying to stay creative despite drastic drops in mood and energy. At the moment I live in Tbilisi, it's the capital of the Republic of Georgia. I live on the outskirts in a very humble neighborhood, and very soon I'm moving countries again. It won't be for the first time, not even for the second time or for the third time, but it still feels very emotionally challenging, and this definitely gets translated in my art practice. And after I give you this little sketchbook tour, I will share my insights and main takeaways as always. By the way, I'm Anna, and I've started this channel to share art journaling tips and inspirations, and also my journey of building a personal art practice for self-exploration. So here is a sketchbook that I will give you a tour of, and this sketchbook is not finished, but I'm still going to give you a tour because you don't have to have a big, long or longish art journey. You can break it into several curious adventures to keep the fire burning. At least that's what I did, and I enjoyed it so much. Here I have a whole month of my life documented in collages, and I have followed the following 3 rules on this challenge. I used only my own photos that I took in my everyday life and then printed out at home. In addition to collage, I used pens, black and white, and pieces of paper with watercolor paint on them. The only external third-party elements that I used were texts from vintage books, not pictures, just pages with printed words, also tickets from the museum where I went, and a receipt from grocery shopping. I didn't have to collage every day, but aimed at having at least 10 meaningful collages, and in the end I had 15. For this challenge I used a new sketchbook that I've started, and I'm using it for the first time. It is by Royal Talents, the same company that makes very popular art creations sketchbooks, but this one is said to be designed specifically for Sakura products. Here. But I feel like the paper here is exactly the same as in that sketchbook, the art creations. The only difference with this sketchbook is that it has a sakura, embossed sakura, what is called, logo, and pen holder, and also expandable pocket here. Yeah, and that's it. So let me show you what I've collaged. I really like the strong and almost intense start of this challenge. This collage feels like this to me. For the main piece I used the fragments of the dilapidated buildings that I captured in Tbilisi. I have a soft spot for the dark architectural matter. These are 2 separate elements, these ones, and I added eyes cut out from a photo I took in a museum, and the bottom part is mine, legs and feet. It all created an interesting perspective. And the supporting pieces here are an inscription that I saw on a bench where I sat down to have a coffee. It is very striking and translates as, "Among the worlds, the glimmering of the luminaries, the light pierced me." The first phrase is taken from a famous poem, but the rest is just a free edition of the unknown author, and I loved it as it is, poetic and high realmish, yet scribbled on a humble bench. I also added a little part of the plant here. It was still fresh when I attached it with a tape, but now it's completely dry. Here I had fun playing around geometry. These are 2 tickets from one museum. I went there twice, within a span of a week probably, just because it's my favorite museum in Tbilisi with a very low entry fee. So I turned one ticket into an exclamation mark with a piece of landscape photo and one into stretched strips, and to support the composition, yet another textured wall and a quote from Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury I was rereading at the moment. It says, "And he knew what it was that leaped upon him to stay and would not run away now. I am alive," he thought. That part gave me goosebumps, and I couldn't but add the quote here to remember. This collage is an experiment. I captured just one moment of my day when I suddenly craved for something special. I got tired of the humming noise from work and media, the neighborhood, the city, so I sat down to collage. First, I made this part. It's a photo of a cup with water and diluted watercolor from my sketching session, my self-portrait, and a scan of a little plant I picked up in a park nearby. I added the little circles from the same print, then I hesitated what to add here to tie everything together and decided to open a book that was on my desk on a random page. It was the book The Scent of Time by Byung-Chul Han, this very page. I scanned it, made it smaller, and printed it out. My book is a Russian translation, but I added a poem by Raine Maria Rilke chosen for an epigraph to this chapter. It's part of Duino elegies that are very deep and mesmerizing. This is the first elegy, and it sat with me on that very day perfectly. And here I added the explanation of the collage. It says, "What happens if you blindly open a book on a random page?" This collage was a way of capturing the colors of summer at that particular moment and in the particular place. I used the photos from my sketching session where I mixed watercolors in a ceramic vessel, torn pieces of paper with cobalt blue color, an old brick wall seen on a walk, a line and a poem that I wrote on that day. I used to write poetry more in my 20s and 30s, but now it happens more rarely. Art journaling helps with getting this gift back though. And here I have yet another quote from Dandelion Wine. It says, "You're saving cocoons, corsets, in a way you can never fit again." It was a very powerful moment in the book that spoke to me, about saving things that no longer belong to us, but used to belong to the past us. I used the picture of my hands that I utilized before in the sketchbook tour. Materials and objects can be reused and get a new meaning each time. This collage is a migraine experience. I was waiting for the pill to work and decided to take my mind away from the pain and just make something. Again, I translated melancholic vibes through the old bench and bare chandelier. I took these pics in a weird Soviet times museum here in Tbilisi, another collected plant, and messy lines that are my favorite therapeutic release. The line that I wrote here says, "Was I, or was it just my imagination?" Finally, a joyful and playful collage depicting my favorite summer recipe, galette with peaches. I have cooked it multiple times and decided to keep this memory. This is the picture of the galette. I replaced the central part and filled it with cut-out fresh peach images. Again, these are all pictures taken by me from my life. This is a fragment of my crochet net bag, a photo of crumpled baking paper, my face fragments, a part of the receipt from when I bought peaches at the supermarket, and here is a fragment of flower packaging. I love saving these little artifact reminders of time in Georgia. That was a very delightful collage session. This doesn't have any collective meaning, just random observations and contemplations. So here is a half of the fig. I'm a huge fan of figs, fresh figs, I just love them. Not even just for the taste, but for their botanical anatomy. These little things inside them are actually flowers. They grow their flowers not outside, but inside the fruit. Figs are perfect introverts in the fruit kingdom, I guess. I wrote here, a fig grows its flowers inside because it's much safer for it. And the line here says, if there is no depth, nothing has a meaning. And I used the composition of my hand, feet, the picturesque Georgian balconies, and a piece of crumpled baking paper. This time not a photo of it, but the actual paper. When glued onto the paper of the sketchbook, it becomes a very nice texture, but it comes off easily, unfortunately. This and the next collage were featured in the previous video on the channel. There I talk in more detail why and how use pictures from everyday real life for art journaling, and there I demonstrate 3 fun and easy collage techniques. Here I used pictures taken randomly on a short walk. I love playing with geometrical shapes a lot, and circle is my favorite shape. You will see quite a few of them further on. For the text elements, I've chosen quotes from a documentary about artist Cy Twombly. They are about living with attention, seeing beauty in the ordinary. And this next collage is a mix of 2 pictures, a quite depressive block of flats and apricots from a local fruit stand. Again, in the previous video I explained the collage and the technique behind it in full detail, and for the text part I used the lines from a punk song. This was a very interesting experiment where I've tried a couple of new things. First is multi-layer collaging. It is here and also here. I used the simple cutout window thing and also a photo of this piece of plant. Unfortunately, I forgot how it is called. I applied clear tape on both sides to experiment and see what it will look like. And this is the same eye of mine, yet printed on a page from a vintage book. It is a curious Soviet book about the so-called auto-suggestion. I got and read it last year when I was mentally getting ready for surgery. It was interesting enough, but I don't have any reasons to keep this book. So I'm using pages from it. And these lines are also from there. They say, my heart is calm, my solar plexus radiates warmth, my breathing is smooth. Another new thing that I did here is printing on paper-based tape. My home printer is very basic and cheap, but it can totally do this. I really enjoyed making this collage interactive. This collage is about creativity. I used lines from my own text I've written for one past project, and it says, more air for creativity. And it's accompanied by a block of flats, massive, and a sculpture head that I photographed in the downtown. It was part of a very beautiful historical building. To add drama to this character, I used flames or streams cut out in a free-form way. I just painted regular office paper with watercolors, and it still gave such an interesting hue and texture. And these are the drops that are cut out from watercolor paper. so you can see some subtle granulation effect from the watercolor. I like the minimalism of this collage and the combination of forms and the message that they carry. I think it's my second favorite here, and my main favorite will be further on. Here is an example of an art journal entry when you don't feel like making something super intricate or requiring much effort, but still want to have a satisfying artsy moment. In this situation, you can use few simple figures arranged in a certain way. As I'm a fan of circles, I have a parade of 3 circles that look like almost like planets to me. The fun part is choosing what to cut the circles from. Here I have a simple white paper with coffee stains. I stamped those using my cup. This one is pavement, and this one is sky with a wire fragment. At first I added text line here, but then tore it away because I like how this collage looks without it. At least I see myself and my feelings in it more clearly without the text. This was the most interesting collage to make. I again played with multi-layeredness and made this part. It's a wall of a church building in our neighborhood. It had a little window here, and I glued my photo on top of it with a cutout face, then made the window open and glued my eyes as the underlayer, and then added this line from a vintage encyclopedia of animals. It says, "Easily gets used to living." I also added multiple outlines like circles on the water when you throw a pebble in there. 2 more little circles because I just want more circles anyway. And the pictures of a flying seed I've taken on a walk. I thought it would be nice to create sort of a pattern with it, and it's not some random seed, but the one that I saw and interacted with. I also like how the density of this page talks to the airiness of this page. This was easy and fun collage session. I had a photo of a little moth that flew into our apartment, and I thought it could be interesting to make a multitude of such moths flying into the light. And for the light, I took a picture of the kitchen hood in our apartment again, because it does look like a lamp. And I used my regular black ink pen for drawing the darkness and the moth parts. I printed the moth in 2 different sizes. The bigger ones are at the bottom, the smaller ones are on top to create at least some perspective. And I do like the combination of colors, black and gray and the light red, almost marsala. And the final collage of the month-long challenge is my favorite for several reasons. First, because here, for the first time ever, I experimented with a new technique. I had a photo of an old wood and metal wall, which I tore in small pieces. I tore the picture, not the wall. And then I glued those pieces chaotically on a piece of paper, and then cut out a shape of my morning coffee mug. And I loved the result. The texture is so cool, and different details of that wall are mixed to create so much interest in looking at it. So I decided to make this mug a centerpiece of the art journal entry and use the same wavy impulse lines as was there before, and added a black star to support the minimal palette and add more dynamics here so that it all moves that way. And as it's the final collage of the art challenge, I wanted to add a meaningful text to wrap it all up, to convey the main feeling that I've carried through it. And I have found a perfect accompaniment, a quote by Albert Camus. "Find meaning, distinguish melancholy from sadness. Go out for a walk. It doesn't have to be a romantic walk in the park, spring at its most spectacular moment, flowers and smells and outstanding poetical imagery smoothly transferring you into another world. It doesn't have to be a walk during which you will have multiple of life epiphanies and discover meanings no other brain ever managed to encounter. Do not be afraid of spending quality time by yourself. Find meaning or don't find meaning, but steal some time and give it freely and exclusively to your own self. Opt for privacy and solitude. That doesn't make you antisocial or cause you to reject the rest of the world, but you need to breathe and you need to be. And this is exactly what art journaling is about overall, letting yourself breathe and letting yourself be, and there I add letting yourself express and connect. And here are my key takeaways from this new challenge. First, it's such a wonderful way to weave in photography into your art practice. I'm not an experienced photographer, far from that. I mean, I love taking photos, but I'm pretty average in it. I don't have any photography background. I've never studied it. And the fact that I make average photographs is not a bad thing. It's just a way for me to try and experiment with maybe elevating photography a little bit, which becomes possible and becomes such a wonderful adventure with collages. Besides, it's such a great way to use physical photos instead of keeping hundreds and hundreds of digital photos on your phone. The second insight. Collage is a wonderful cure for low-energy art days or artistic burnout. I have no idea why collage gets so little attention in the art community, or maybe I'm not aware that of its popularity, so please excuse me. It's just every time I want to get inspired by collaging, I encounter very similar techniques and references, while on many days I crave something different, something that promises more personal expansion. And that's what I have found in this collaging from life challenge. And the third insight. Once again, I have discovered that the more we practice, the more we unleash ourselves and let go of overthinking or the fear of messing up a sketchbook page. But honestly, I haven't gotten rid of this fear of a blank page completely. Every time that I have to start a new page, my heart sinks for a second, but then I just move on with whatever I want to create. I have made an arrangement with myself, made an agreement that even if I don't necessarily like the outcome of my art session, I still let it be, let it sit in there. Because even the worst art journal entries have the right to exist. Just as I am a living human with my ups and downs and mood swings and good days or bad days or moments of kindness and moments of anger, my art journal is a living organism and it's a part of me, and it can be different and diverse and whatever. This is all I have to share with you today. I hope that you enjoyed the tour and maybe you got inspired to try some new collage techniques. Please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope to see you in the next video here, and I'm wishing you a beautiful creative day, and пока-пока!